Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. How was your call? Hello?
Oh, it was good. They're both going through so much transition, but I'm like so proud of them for showing up.
Oh, wow.
Well, because like Eric just moved, and so
This off. Today's just going to be transcribed, and what I'm using it. So the book is about, what I'm writing about is I have a hypothesis that if we actually build a personal advisory board or accountability group around us, it will actually help us achieve monumental goals that stick. So they don't go into you don't go into default. So if you think about boot camps or these crash diets or something or anything, usually most people end up in default. So how do you actually sustain a lifestyle or goals that you actually want to achieve and keep? So I'm looking into what is it, what do people use groups as, and how they form them, and I would love to hear your opinion on it, and then
Mhm.
where have you seen it be applied, and then any personal stories you have.
Okay. So I just want to make sure that I heard you correctly. So what you're asking is groups that I've been a part of, one way or the other,
Anything
or
to achieve anything doesn't have to necessarily be business.
yeah, okay, so that have helped me work toward a goal. Is that what
Or
you're?
something that's almost impossible to achieve. So what you thought was impossible. So some people might, I'm exploring like Alcoholic Anonymous, right? So
Mhm.
you have biological things that people actually achieved. So how did they do that? Or
Right.
you have like Weight Watchers, or like just moments where people put a group together so that they can achieve that goal. And then usually what ends up happening, my hypothesis is, since they have a group of people kind of going through that, they end up moving in the direction that they want to.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Go for it.
I've been part of a lot of groups like that. So,
That's great. So then what worked, what didn't?
yeah, so I was part of Weight Watchers. I actually did really well on that. And I would say I didn't buy into the whole, because in the program, at least when I did it, was you were supposed to go to a weekly meeting and then weigh in. And that was kind of like your checkpoint. And so the weekly meetings did not really work for me. It was not my vibe.
Mm,
But going in and being weighed every month, there was so much accountability to that piece that was really what motivated me.
why
Because
wasn't it your vibe on the weekly things?
yeah, because I didn't feel like what they were talking about was relevant to me. It felt like, they had, so I don't know how much you know about Weight Watchers specifically, but they have lifetime members who have lost 50 or more pounds and they've kept it off for more than a year.
Hmm.
And so those are the people who come in and speak, and they share tips and they share this and that. And so it didn't feel real to me. It didn't feel relevant to where I was and what my particular goals were. And I was more motivated by somebody's going to see how much I weigh every week, and I want it to be good. And so,
Nice.
yes.
So you only showed up for the monthly thing, but what motivated you to keep track and do everything else? Just that one monthly
Yeah. So
check-in?
what motivated me was seeing the results every week. Like I knew that I was seeing results, and as long as I was seeing results, I continued to stay motivated. And when I started to plateau, I just did some more research and figured out another way. But the weekly weigh-ins, they continued to motivate me because there was accountability.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
And then why did you stop?
Um, I stopped because I was doing it with a friend, and she stopped. So there was a competition piece there. So like we
Hmm.
were kind of competing against each other, and so there was that accountability piece, but then there was also like I wanted to do well. So I was just like, but then when she was gone, I was like, the meetings didn't do it for me. And so it was kind of like I completely lost all motivation. I had lost I had reached the goals that I wanted to, but because I didn't have her there anymore, and I was kind of like, well, I can just do this on my own. And so I just moved on to something different.
Got it. So the community didn't get you. It was more that intimacy that you had with your friend. How would you describe that?
Well, it was one of those things where we worked together. So, we constantly were holding each other accountable, sharing recipes, kind of, oh, this worked, that worked. Oh, have you tried this new product kind of thing? And so it was like we were in it together. So there was that connection piece. But then it was like, oh, you lost 2 pounds this week. Like, I'm going to try to lose, 2 pounds for 2 weeks kind of
Yeah.
thing. And then weigh in and see like, yes, I'm down 3 pounds, you went up a pound or something like that. And vice versa, because it wasn't always a loss every week. Sometimes it was a gain, but it just kind of remotivated you because then you'd be excited for them too, right? Because it's like, oh, like she did so well this week. Like that motivated me too, because I kind of knew what she was doing.
Great. And then what other programs? And after you did that one, did you join any other ones?
I actually started taking Zumba.
Ooh, I just did that
Yeah.
yesterday. It's fun.
Yes. So I took Zumba, and you may not know about this, Tanya, but I took Zumba. Again, got a community of friends like, hey, let's try this thing. It's like the new thing. I fell in love with it. So I stuck with it. And then about 6 months later, I got certified and I started teaching it. And so I taught Zumba, like 3 different kinds of Zumba for 3 years.
Wow.
Because I thought it was just like, it was about the fun, it was about the community, it was about the freedom, and it was also about the health benefits. Yes,
Nice.
that's kind of what I did to maintain that. Yeah. I'm thinking other groups that I've done and worked with. So I did like a Master Your Mission program, which was basically for female entrepreneurs. And it was really about how to up-level your business. And so it was for people who were new into business and they were just trying to break through some of their personal barriers to up-level to the next whatever it was. And there was a lot of accountability with that. And so it was a small community of women. So there was, I think, 5 women. I did it for 3 years. And we went through a program, kind of like what you were saying. And then after the program, it was completely on our own. We were assigned an accountability partner, and it was completely on our own whether or not we maintained that relationship. And so, of course, I maintained that relationship because I wanted to continue to grow and learn and support the other person. And so for me, I think kind of what you're getting at, like when it comes to goals, it's definitely about accountability, but it's also about how can I be part of their journey too? Like it's not just about me, because seeing somebody else succeed and reach their goals is really exciting. And for the most part, also motivates me and reminds me like, oh, it doesn't have to be this hard. It doesn't have to be this big grand gesture. It can just be like, small steps consistently every day. And I can still get to where I want to go. And it's also nice to have a cheerleader when things are not going so well.
Absolutely. And when did you realize that to go into groups because you move faster and there's more progress?
That's a good question. I would say for me personally, I've like often found myself around people who don't get me. And so feeling just really isolated and like I want to do more with my life, but when I'm like talking to people who are in my community, like they just don't understand, they don't get it. It's just, or they just don't care. Like they're not passionate about it. And so going to groups was a place where I can find like-minded people who cared about the same things that I did, who allowed me a space where I could contribute, but also learn things and grow. And that is probably the most attractive thing to me about groups is that, I'm a lifelong learner. And so I always want to be improving myself. And groups is a great way to offer that because you learn about all sorts of things, processes, words, what's happening, trends, all that sort of stuff. But then there's also people who may ask a question that you have some level of expertise and you can like, oh, I can help you with that. And so it's that groups that offer equal energy are groups that I like. I have been in groups where it looked like it was a really great thing. Like I was in a group that had over 1,000 people in it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And the group administrator was pumping out stuff all the time. And it was just so overwhelming. And so for me personally, even in my apartment search, I've learned that I really thrive in smaller communities. I don't necessarily, it's not that I don't like the larger communities, but they just feel really overwhelming to me. So I would rather something that's a little bit more intimate and where I can really kind of get to know the people that are, part of the group.
So why is it the bigger communities kind of like, I know for myself, I feel like I can hide, right?
Yes.
So what is it for you? Like, I don't know if it's different.
Yeah, it felt really overwhelming. I didn't feel like, because there's so many people in there, it's like somebody might post a question and you can be like, oh, this is my area of expertise. But then, by the time you get to it, there's already been 25, 30 people who have commented. And it's kind of like, is my contribution even valued here? Because I'm happy to participate and be present. But if I ask a question, I don't know that I want to look through 50 responses.
Oh, got it. I like that.
Yeah, because I would much rather get, 3 to 5 answers and use the one that feels like it's the best fit.
So for you, what do you define as like, what is a number for an intimate community?
I would say probably under 100. Yeah.
So under 100? Okay.
Yeah.
And
yeah, somewhere between like 100 and 250. After that, I feel like it's not everybody's going to be actively engaged when and so if it's too small, it's like you're going to be the only one in the group. I've been in those groups too, where I'm just like, oh, like now I feel like it's my group and it's not my group. And I like, that feels like too much responsibility. And so if you have like between 100 and 250, it feels like it's a good size group where you can contribute and that contribution can be heard and valued.
And when did you ever set yourself up with an accountability group or accountability partner or something and it ended up failing?
Yes. I think everybody has. Yeah. Yeah. So my first Master Your Mission accountability partner, she was a busy New York City mom and we had a lot in common, but it just felt like I was doing all the work. And like I had to schedule the calls and I had to do the follow-up and so super, super great lady. But I'm like, you don't have time for this is not equal energy. I don't want that didn't feel like accountability. It felt like I was managing her and I didn't want to do that.
She was almost like reaping all the benefits.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And have you ever been in an accountability group that didn't work?
I have been in an accountability group that didn't work. There was a program that I took. I'm trying to remember what it was.
I think you take all these programs. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I think it was about communication or something like that. And we were all kind of put in an accountability group as a result. But again, it was more or less the facilitator. I felt like an afterthought, hey, you paid $250 for this course. We're going to put you in this accountability group and it's all hands off. And I think we met once and then it was just we never met again after that because it was all virtual. And now I still keep in touch with a lot of the women from that group, sporadically, but that was a fail for sure, because I do remember, like, at the end of that program, kind of to your point when you started talking in the beginning, it felt like, okay, this is great information, but now what do I do with it? Because it just felt like it fizzled out, and I just was wondering, like, what value did I even get out of this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was great in the moment, but like, how do I implement this? How do I actually put this to use and to work it? And I didn't have all the answers, which is why I took the class in the first place. So it just kind of felt like that particular one, it felt like, I felt unfulfilled.
And you seem like a very type A driven personality, which you are, I know you are. Some people think that accountability is something that only people who need help kind of getting motivated and pushed. Why do you kind of go into accountability?
That's a great question. For me, accountability, like, if you look at anybody who's achieved anything, and it doesn't even matter what level they are, where they're coming from, like, you have to have accountability. I mean, in parenting, you have to have accountability. And so for me, well, I mean, so in parenting, accountability to, like, your partner, right? Like, okay, like, this is what we're going to stick to. This is the plan. And then you have that accountability, like, you fold it again. Like, we need to really figure out, like, a way so that you won't fold when you see those cute little eyes looking up at you. And you want to offer accountability to your kids too. Whereas you say, like, okay, if this is what we're agreeing to, or if this is what the rule or the standard is, this is what the rule or the standard is. And so you offer that accountability to your kids. You offer accountability in your work, that if you say you're going to do something, you're going to do it. And so for me, accountability, whether it be on a goal or just something that I want to achieve, maybe it's, I saw a friend of mine, she's like, who wants to eat 2 healthy meals a day? And, like, she uses her Facebook community as, her accountability. And to me, accountability is just telling the universe, hey, I really want to do this, and I want somebody to support me. So accountability isn't necessarily you did this or you didn't do this. It's more or less, it's a community of somebody who's going to support you in the journey of achieving a goal.
And have you achieved a goal that kind of like you defied the odds through community?
I mean, I've been defying the odds for a long time. I'm trying to think of one. I mean, my TEDx talk was probably one where I defied the odds, because it was something that I really wanted to do. I had applied for so many and never heard anything. And when I was invited to speak for TEDx, it was not because that I applied. It wasn't because of any of that. It was because I had a compelling story and they wanted me to share it. And it felt like I defied the odds on that one, because it was like, oh my gosh, like, I didn't think this was going to happen for another, 10 years, but it did happen.
Nice. And did you do that through community, or?
I did actually. Master Your Mission kind of helped with that, and getting my speaking coach, because they had pulled the speaking coaches the year that I was doing my TEDx talk. But I happened to know, because I was talking within the community, do you know somebody? Like, how can I get a speaking coach? I want to make sure that I do this well. And I found out through the community that, oh yes, actually so-and-so knows so-and-so. And I got the speaking coach, which nobody else got the speaking coach.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you still in that fitness pursuit? for the wellness pursuit? And what are you using?
I am, but I'm more or less, so Fitbit has their own community, and I don't necessarily know that I utilize the community that much, but at the end of every week, you get like your weekly progress report. And I'm not going to lie, I totally look at it to see where I am because I want to be first. And I stay with the friends that I have, I stay ranked between first and third. And so it's just one of those things that I kind of keep on my radar. And like this morning, for example, I was not feeling like getting out of bed and going for my run walk. But I was like, you know what? I can just get out for 30 minutes and just get this done because I wanted the steps. Because it's going to go on my progress report. It's that accountability piece. Like I know it's going to go on my progress report and I don't want to lose like my spot.
So what happens if you had friends who were like training, I don't know, 5 miles a day? Would that up level your game or?
That's a good question. It would heighten my awareness, but I'm also at a point in life where I know my body. I know what my goals are. I know what's right for me. And so I would say probably 10 years ago, that totally, I would have been like, oh, I need to run at least 5.1 miles. It's just so that that competitive part in me would have been like, I just want to do a little bit more than they are. But now I'm just kind of at a different stage in life. And I would acknowledge, man, that's amazing. But I also know in reality, 5 miles a day, like I'm going to get close to 5 miles a day just through doing different things, but it's not going to.
I'm just using that as like a number, like,
yeah,
kind of
no,
like,
I mean, it's a good number.
because like you're like going for first. So then I'm like, if she's competitive, I wonder if she went to next level of that and what would I do?
Yes. So, I mean, it depends on what it is because I also know, like, I know what I'm capable of. And so it is going to up level me to a point, but I'm also just I'm not going to go out of my way or put myself in harm, if that makes sense. Whereas 10 years ago, I totally would have. I did, actually. I hurt myself pretty bad.
Oh, no.
Because I was like, I'm doing this. I am not stopping. Like, because I just wanted it so bad. And then at the end of it, I couldn't walk.
Was this training for something or?
It wasn't even training for anything. I did insanity.
Oh.
And I just didn't have the proper alignment. And so like, again, like when it comes to fitness stuff, you have to make sure you have good alignment to start with, because if you don't have good alignment, you could really hurt yourself. And so now after having some injuries and accidents and stuff, it's much more about, I would rather do this well, even if it's a little less than where I might want to be, because then I will actually reap the benefits instead of just reaching a goal to reach a goal.
So now that seems like you've done a digital community, an in-person community, educational community, and a Facebook community. So what would you say, how would you order your preference into which one really supported you to help you get the best results? Or what would you say that would help you? Like if somebody was going to go after a new goal or something, what would you tell them to do?
Well, I mean, one of the things, it depends on, like for me personally, I probably like the more like a combination of in-person and digital, where maybe somebody is reminding me. So like I use Marco Polo a lot with some of my friends.
What's Marco Polo?
Okay. I'm like surprised you don't know what Marco Polo is. It's kind of like Bonjouro. And so it's just like, it's a way to communicate with your friends, but you just like do a video and then they watch it and then they do a video back. And it just works.
Why wouldn't you use WhatsApp?
Well, I do use WhatsApp, but I don't think you can record a video like that on WhatsApp. Like, don't you have to do like a live video on WhatsApp? Okay.
I don't know, but I'll check out Marco Polo.
I don't know. So what I like about Marco Polo is that like I don't have to talk to the person like for real. Like I can just be like sitting at my desk and being like, oh, I'm just thinking about Tanya. So I'm just going to send her a quick message and be like, you got this, girl. I'm so excited that you're going to call your accountant today and work out those numbers, whatever it is. And then I just let it go. I forget about it. I don't even have to worry about it. And then whenever you have time at your leisure, you know, maybe you're laying in bed and you're just like, oh, Heather sent me a Marco Polo. You can watch it then, and you can choose to respond then, or you can respond later. And so I do have a group of 3 friends, and we're just really, really busy, and we share all sorts of stuff together on that Marco Polo, and just kind of reminding each other, hey, I know you really wanted to do this. I know you're really struggling with this right now, but this kind of came to me, and I just wanted to share this with you. And just a reminder that you've got this, and you're you know, doing great, that kind of stuff. And so to answer your question, like preference wise, there is something about having that intimate group of people who knows you, who can say, you know, like bullshit, right? And I know this is what you're saying to us, but I really know that this is what you're doing. And I'm calling you out on it because I love you and I want you to succeed. And that works really well for me personally. That would be my top preference, because I just want to have real conversations with real people who aren't afraid to hurt my feelings, because I know that they actually care about me. And if they said something that did hurt my feelings, I could just go back and say, that was a little bit too much, and it wouldn't hurt their feelings. And we could just have a conversation about it, but always be moving forward. So, yeah.
So how did you pick those people? Were there any traits or?
Those people, we came together. I don't even know how to describe it, but very, very different. We are very different. Our ages are all different. We just kind of connected. We just like 4 strangers randomly connecting from.
How'd you meet?
It's just like a really weird story. So I met one person at a networking group. One person found me through my website, and that person met the other person through a networking, and I met her through networking. And then we all just kind of, you know, ended up being like, oh, you need to meet this one. Oh, wait, no, you need to meet her. Or like, she can help you with this. And when the 4 of us kind of got together, it was like, wow, there's really something powerful here. And yeah, we're all very different, completely different personalities, different ages, different, you know, astrological signs, different stages of life. So yeah.
So did you put any rules of communication? Did you put a guideline on how you guys are going to meet? Like how did you keep this group going? How long has it been going for?
The group has been going for about 4 years. And I just got everybody on Marco Polo. And so we, you know, in the beginning, we met really often. I would say we probably met once or twice a month, just because we wanted to like kind of come together and see each other. And then, you know, I could kind of tell that lives were getting busy. So I created a Facebook group, and we've had that for 3 years. And we just kind of pop in there every once in a while with a resource, or, hey, what are you doing? What are you working on? That sort of stuff. And then, you know, basically we couldn't get together for dinner because everybody is just doing so many different things. So I was like, let's just create a Marco Polo group, because at least we can see each other's faces then, and we can just make it work on our own time, whenever that might be. So to answer your question, no, we don't have any rules. We don't have any guidelines or anything like that. It's been very organic. And we've just stayed connected, and we dream together, and we share life's struggles and all of that sort of things. But yeah, we always kind of come back to each other.
Is there one moment where they really helped you out?
Yes. Personally, I mean, just the stuff that I was going through with my marriage, I can remember we were having dinner together, and one of them basically said, "You are Heather fucking Bischoff. Why are you letting this man, create this in your life?" And that was such a wake-up call to me because of the way she said it. Like, it was just like, you have too much to offer. You have too much going on. You're an incredible person. Like, why would you settle for anything less? And it was just a real eye-opening moment. And, again, they told me things that I couldn't see. So I had blind spots. We all have blind spots. And they really helped me to kind of see those blind spots. But what I love about their approach is that they would tell me what the blind spots were, but they never pushed me or forced me to take action on those blind spots until I was ready to. And then they celebrated with me.
That's amazing. And one last question about this.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think it didn't die out? Like, was there any rhythm? Like, is everyone posting at least once a day? Or, because have you been involved in groups where it just kind of dies out, right?
Yeah, I've been involved in a lot of, I've created groups that have died out. So
what was that kind of like secret? What is the secret sauce here? What do you think?
I would say the secret sauce is that there's absolutely no judgment. And we really accept people for who they are. We may not hear from somebody for a few months, and then they pop back in and they're just like, "Oh my gosh, you guys, here's what's been going on, blah, 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 blah." And we're just happy to see her. We're just like, "Oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. This is amazing." And instead of, "Well, where the hell have you been for the last 3 months?" Like, it's none of that at all. It's very nurturing. It's very like, what's going on in your business? Now, we have taken some stuff like aside from the group. So like, one of the people in the group has needed some consulting work. And so she was like, "I really need you to help get me organized. I really need you to, like, I took on this project for, my new job, and like, I know you can help me. So would you help me?" And so we've done stuff like that, kind of like side projects, but we always come back to the big group. So I don't really know what the secret sauce is, other than I know for me, I'm always welcomed. I'm never judged. It doesn't matter, how, like, what I do or how stupid it might seem to other people. They just are like, "That's just where you are. It's okay." And what do you think? What do you think could make this a little bit better? Or where do you want to be? I can give you a great example kind of in closing, and it's 234, which is complete numerology, really good number. So I was sharing some, stuff that I'm going through right now. And so one of them got on Marco Polo and was just like, "Heather, I just want to remind you to just be present. And you're going through some stuff, but the reason we get frustrated is because we're not getting what we want, and we actually end up focusing on what we're not getting instead of what we want." And she just kind of pointed out, like, really embrace the feelings and where you're going to be, not necessarily where you are today. Like, feel those feelings today. It doesn't change the circumstance. It doesn't change the situation, but just own, like, "Hey, I'm feeling joy. I'm feeling successful. I'm feeling whatever," because it will come and you deserve it. And the stuff that isn't serving you, just let that shit go.
I like it. But why? Because you've created other groups. And have you ever been in a group where, like, you created it and then one person just kind of like said or was a little too hard on the other person?
Mm-hmm.
when they communicated. So how did you guys establish the levels of like directness, I guess?
Yes. Again, this like our group happened really organically. And so I know like we've kind of learned like they know that they can be much more direct with me than with some of the other people in the group. Just because like we're very aware. And so like there's an older woman in the group who will just, she'll just say stuff and you're just kind of like, oh my gosh, she just said that. But again, because we understand where people are coming from, and so it's like she's not trying to be hard or, brash. Like she's not, like she's lived life longer, right? She's had a longer journey. And so she's saying that it comes from a place of kindness and love. And so it's like she's not saying that to hurt your feelings. She's just saying it because it's true. And it's like you can't argue with the truth. It's like, okay, well, it'd be nicer if you said this to me, with some chocolate. But but I can't argue with the truth, right? And so we've just kind of established that, and we always follow everything up. And I think you do this in Owners Up. We always follow things up with an affirmation. And so it's like, yeah, that was really shitty. Like, you shouldn't have done that. That was like, what were you thinking? But look how far you've come, because it would have taken you so much longer to even realize that 6 months ago.
So you do have a communication kind of thing. You go direct and then go nice. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
No, this is perfect because the book is like, I'm still in the stage of exploring where I want to take the group. I mean, this book. So do I want to dive into like learning about AA, all these programs? Because all these programs are just coming back from a spiritual, from the beginning of wisdom, and they've just been rebranded to whatever it is.
Right.
And then how can people start forming their own? And what does that take? Because there's a certain kind of like willingness to first accept, be okay with like getting information, how to create it, when to use it, what's a rhythm, all of that. So this is perfect. You like are one of the best ones I've interviewed. Because you got me through all the groups. Because it's like, because people think of groups so differently. It's funny, it took me almost all the way to the end to get to this.
Yes.
Why is that?
Like I love community, and I can say people who are attracted to groups are looking for connection.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have connection in my marriage, and so I needed it. It wasn't even like I wanted it; like I needed it to breathe, to be able to move forward. And so that's why it was so important to me to find a group of people where I felt like I belonged and that I could contribute something. And so there's some Facebook groups that I actively watch and contribute where I feel like I can. And I mean, I do read information and like, oh, like that's really interesting. And I may comment every once in a while, but we call ourselves the Buffalo Women. And so that group is kind of like, that's my really intimate group of women where I'm just like, I'm really having a shitty day today and I don't feel like doing anything. And like, is anybody else feeling that way? And they'll come on and they'll be like, oh my God, thank you for saying that. Because they're like, I'm feeling the same way too, but this is how it's showing up for me. And so it's like, it's validation, it's accountability, it's honest communication. And so, yeah, it's kind of what we do.
So what's the difference? If you're going to rate the groups, which one is better? The Marco Polo, the Facebook group? Because it looks like you have a lot going on.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think I use the groups for different reasons, right? So for real deep connection, I go to my Buffalo Women on Marco Polo because I know I can just be 100% authentic and nobody cares. The Facebook groups, I go there more or less when I just want to share something with people or see how I can contribute to the world. And, I'm in a lot of groups, but
Do you consider those community, or is it kind of like?
I mean, most of them are so big. So that, so like I'm part of like the San Diego conscious community, which I really like that group a lot because there's a lot of information, but there's not 100% alignment with it because there's some stuff that I'm just like, that's just a little too far out for me. Like, I'm happy for you. That's amazing. That's great. But, namaste in bed. Like, so, but then there's other things where people, and I'm looking forward to being in San Diego so that I can contribute more when people are like, oh, do you know a chiropractor who does this? Or do you know, like, I love to do that kind of stuff. And it makes me feel really fulfilled to share resources with people. And so that group just kind of fills my bucket a little bit. And then there's like a women founders group that I'm part of. And so a lot of times they'll say, does anybody know how you do this? Or does anybody have a resource for this? And so again, like, it makes me feel really fulfilled to be able to share something that I'm like, oh, have you heard of Marco Polo? Like, that might be a really great thing for you to share, or that kind of stuff. But as far as the like real connection, I love the video messages because I can see the people and it's like we're together even though we're not together, and everybody's busy, everybody has a different schedule. And so it's just a really great way for us to kind of come together without actually coming together in time and space.
Perfect. I'm trying to think of anything else. I know we're over time and I want to respect your time. It's like really good because I'm still figuring because you're making a difference. A lot of people think communities like in the Facebook group, but you created your own. Did you have anything when you were a mother, like a parenting group or anything?
I was really actively involved in the church during that time. And so I mean, that's a whole nother story, but that's a whole nother book, Tanya.
They do the same thing. They put you in groups and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, they do put you in groups, but I guess the thing, my experience, because I can only share my experience, was that nobody was really real in those groups. And so there's people in pain, there's people going, oh my God, like, what are these creatures doing? Or, I mean, like, is it wrong for me to be drinking wine? You know what I mean? Like, to get through this. And like, I didn't ever feel like I could really be real and have those conversations. And so while it was so much more about my kids and making sure like, hey, like, do I know these people? Are they safe enough for my kids to be hanging around their kids? And so it was in those years, it was much more about creating a safe community for my kids, like being the outside protector versus actually something for myself, which in hindsight, I really wish that I had something like, I wish I had Buffalo Women, when my kids were growing up, where I could just say like, okay, I'm really feeling like these assholes are, like, I've had enough, of course you love your kids. Of course you don't really think that about them, but parenting is hard. And so it would just be nice to have somebody, again, validate like, oh girl, like, I know exactly what you mean. Or to say, you know what, why don't I come over and get them so you can just take a bubble bath this afternoon. I think that's so important. And I think we're getting there. I think there's more groups that are more authentic in raising kids, but I did not have that, which for me personally led to my identity crisis when my kids went off to college, because I spent so much time investing in them that I did not invest in myself. So I didn't even know who I was with, like, oh shit, like, now what do I do with my time?
Yeah. I've seen a lot of mothers go through that, and there's like a lot of groups for that. Mm-hmm. Did you know in Australia when you're, I found this out through one of the interviews, they actually set you up with a mom's group right when you have a kid and the hospital puts it together.
That's cool. I was part of like a nursing moms group, but again, like they were not nurturing. They were very, I mean, I was 16, I was a young mom, and so I felt very judged. And I didn't want any part of that because I felt like they shamed me instead of really bringing me into community. And so I just, like, you know, I just want to be a good mom. Like, I don't need that. Like, yeah.
Super helpful. I think that's it. I'm trying to think. Yeah, you've nailed everything I was thinking of. I still don't know. This is just the vision of what I'm thinking about. I'm probably going to go into like a meeting of AA and then explore things and see where it comes from, and then kind of point out how the world is very like, even though there's communities, all this digital, a lot of people are feeling isolated. There's like, imagine if everybody was able to create their own board of like advisors, right? That's kind of like what you have, this board of advisors of the community. And then how do you set that? What are the rules based on all this other stuff?
Right. Yeah, I did join a Facebook group that was like an Al-Anon group, which is basically the people who are in relationship with an alcoholic or an addict. And I will say I never shared anything on that group. I was more of a troll. And so for me, it was kind of like, oh, I'm not crazy. Like, oh, like that's interesting. And so like some of the stuff that people were talking about was helpful, but I definitely did not feel safe to share. And the other thing that comes up for me personally, I don't know if this will help or not, but if I don't feel safe to share, I'm not going to share. And so it can be intimidating with people seem like they have so much knowledge or experience. Something that does not work for me because I've served on boards. And when people start one-upping me, I'm out. Because I'm just like, that's not my brand. It's not my vibe. When I'm part of a group, I want to be a contributor. And I don't have any tolerance for nonsense. So when people, you know, who are just trying to really like, you know, I'm so great, like, oh, you did this, well, I did this even better. You know, there can be fun competition where, you know, you kind of like joke around like, oh, you ran 5 miles, I'm going to run 5.1, right? There's fun in that versus like, I'm just so much better than you. Like, I'm just like, okay, you be better than me.
Yeah.
And so when I see that in groups, it's a huge turn off. And for me, like, I just don't want to invest my energy in that.
Which is almost like a contradiction of when you started it.
Yeah.
Right? You see there. So it's like there's something that we haven't nailed on the group thing because you're like, oh, I like the fitness, when it's goals, I like to be like competitive, I like to go there. But then
I think it's based on where the intention of the comment, right? So there's a difference between, okay, well, you're going to do 2 miles today, I'm going to run 3 to encourage me and motivate me. Whereas there's the other person that is saying that to keep you small.
Gotcha.
And so that person, I just don't have time for that person. And so, they're in groups. And so like, I will tolerate it for a moment because I do try to really understand people's motivation behind stuff like that. And so like, if it is coming from a place of kindness or, you know, really like, I really just want to help you, then I can say, okay, that's just not helping. Whereas when you have that person who's just like, they just want to be all showy, then I'm just like, you go show, like, enjoy, like, hope you have a mirror.
Got it. Cool. I think that's it. I'm trying to think. Yeah, this is super awesome. By the way, I'm going to find out about, I'm implanting not this Thursday, but next Thursday. I'm going to see if you or Matthew have availability because I have that one group that's on Thursday. I don't know if they're going to want to move the time or not. Who knows? But I'll ask. But just in case, I'm just throwing it out there. Because like, I guess during that time, I'm supposed to be like chilled. So It's coming. I'm excited.
Yay! I'm